And welcome to another Great Lakes Divide live stream here on YouTube, presented to you by federalwilliams.com. That's FEDERAU Williams.com for all of your realty needs. Contact Mike Williams at federalwilliams.com. I'm your host, Adam Biggers. You can follow me on Twitter at AdamBiggers81. You can follow Great Lakes Divide at GL Divide. And you can find us on Facebook at the Great Lakes Divide. I did not expect a blowout. I feel like I owe you guys a better live stream. We'll talk about stats. I did one from the field last night. It's a little bit choppy with the wireless. So many people there connected. I don't know. Sometimes it's weird. Plus, you guys know that my phone sometimes has a mind of its own. But thanks to Wes Weber sending me a link to a S9 forum. I think I fixed the focus issue. So if you guys see I'm moving and it's not going out of focus now, thanks to Wes Weber. So I'm going to get into stat breakdown. We have a couple questions from off Twitter already. We'll go over some statistics. We'll talk about our predictions. Who was the closest? I said 28-24 Michigan. Couldn't have been more wrong. I did see Michigan winning this game, but I think most of us did. Let me go ahead. I don't think we have one Wisconsin prediction, so. And I want to thank Brandon Abbott for being a great sport. Brandon, I think he's B Strongism in here. You guys know him. He comes in. We bet on Jonathan Taylor. 101 yards, baby. Thank you, Jonathan. I was prepared. I did some training. I was going to do the Rocky video, put the hood up, like I'm Rocky Balboa. Come on, Brandon, let's go. I'm ready to do some pull-ups. Brandon did those. He knocked them out. Looks like he could have probably did about 50 of them. So congrats to Brandon for paying the debt. And thank you, Jonathan Taylor, for rush. In Brandon's video, he goes, bro, he had 101. And I couldn't stop. I'm like, hey, I know that's the cheapest way to go over 100 right there, 101. So again, Jonathan Taylor, Michigan did shut him down. Compared to regular Jonathan Taylor's standards, that's about 40 yards fewer per game than he was averaging. I think he was averaging like 141 coming in. And he's only been, it would, if Michigan maybe a couple more tackles stopped him in the backfield, it would have been only the fifth time in his young career, 18 previous games, 19 counting the Michigan game, that he was held under 100 yards. So the Wolverines almost did it, but they shut down Alex Hornibrook. We'll talk about that. Let me tweet this link real quick. And I'll get to your guys' questions. Guys, if you want to hold just for 1 second, let them catch up, and then I'll get into them. And it's Michigan State week. And it's I tweeted this earlier. I feel like, look, everybody who does this is a fan, right? I mean, you wouldn't be a police officer if you didn't have a passion for protecting the public. And alliteration was not intended there; it just came out that way. You wouldn't be a teacher if your desires were to, teach others. You wouldn't be a sports writer if you didn't love sports. And of course, I love sports. Great Lakes Divide. The whole premise when Ryan and I came up with this was to be kind of a one-stop in the middle. You're not going to get the rah-rah stuff. You're not going to, we're not going to sit here and be cheerleaders. So we do live for this week, though, and I can't wait. It's going to be exciting. Just a warning, I guess. Let's keep the live chats clean, because I know these rivalries can bring up some stuff, and I don't want to get too much in there. 9N20 says, what's up, Adam? The one comment, I thought I was going to be coming in here and waiting for a ton of comments. So, hey, Nyan, thanks for joining. This gives me time to get on Twitter real quick. And let's see. Isaac Gogol with his continuous lobbying for me to get on the UCF train. And then now he wants to start a GoFundMe for PS4 because I already came up with a gamer tag. So that's pretty good. See a couple more chats in here. I want to get to this. Back this question I asked a couple weeks ago: is Michigan, after Nebraska, is Michigan the best one-loss team in the nation? But LSU, RJ at RD606 replies, LSU OU and Georgia are all solid choices as well, but the difference between them is Michigan was dealt their loss week 1 to number 4 in the nation as opposed to recently. And exactly, I mean, that Notre Dame loss is like, there's not a good loss, right? But because there's not a bad win. But that Notre Dame loss is not looking bad. So I maintain I think Michigan is the best one-loss team in the country. There was a case for Penn State to be made. Michigan State goes and does what I thought was going to be impossible. Ryan Schuling and I talked about during the podcast. The season was riding on this game for the Spartans, and they're still very much in the thick of it, even with 2 losses. And this Michigan State game this weekend is going to be a big one. So hold on, let me find this question from Michigan Man at Let's Go Blue with 3 E's says, did Wisconsin's secondary greatly improve, or is Michigan's passing game not as good as when they played decent secondary? I thought Wisconsin. Here's the thing. Michigan. Here, let me rewind here. Wisconsin came in with the number 56 ranked passing defense in the country. Only 7 passing touchdowns allowed this year. Did not give up 1 to Michigan. And I was looking at some drives earlier, and Shea's progression chart. 5 of his throws were for first downs. One and his longest completion of the game, 28 yards to Nick Eubanks, and then 17 yards to Donovan Peoples-Jones. Other than those 2 passes, he did not complete anything long, right? I mean, they were just kind of short, 10, 15-yard routes, 5, 6 yard. I mean, a couple on, I think one on third down, it was a 3rd and long, and they ran like a 5 or 6 yard route. So, but I mean, they didn't really have, I think, like I said in the beginning, when we were previewing Wisconsin, that the game was going to be a ground game. And I mean, yeah, Michigan did pass and have a little bit of success there, but you're absolutely right. Michigan's passing game didn't look, the deep threat, didn't look like it was going to happen against Wisconsin. So I still think Michigan's passing offense is still good. Wisconsin's secondary was the only thing in the defense that happened to hold up a little bit. I mean, if you look at it that way, I mean, Michigan wasn't able to, really thread the deep ball that much, but it did run the ball very well, and it still was completing some passes with Shea. Didn't need to. I mean, that one option was there. I don't think that's an indictment on Michigan's passing offense. I just think it's the one thing that Wisconsin did well on Saturday. So hopefully that answered your question. In the chat right here, PJ Brooks says, #GoBlue. Whitney Jackson says, great dominant win. Did I see Solomon in the game? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think Aubrey was in the game. Let me double check on this participation chart. He is back to practice though, and I misspoke when I tweeted, guys, that I saw Tariq Black. I could have sworn it was Tariq Black, and even the build looked like Tariq Black, but it's actually Khalid Hudson. Tariq was there in street clothes because people were tweeting me saying that even national analysts on college football broadcasts were speculating that Tariq was going to be back this week, or maybe for Michigan State. I still think it's early. I'd be surprised if we saw him back from November, but I mean, it all depends on, Tariq's. We don't have a firm update as far as, okay, well, Tariq's at 96%, Tariq's at 98%. You know what I mean? All we've heard is that he's progressing nicely. So let me, I don't think Aubrey, he did play. You're absolutely right. He was in behind Brian Monet. Good eye. I don't see everything, guys, and I try to, but from a press box, the guys are this big to me, and the number on their jerseys that big to me. So even with a zoom, it's kind of hard. So you guys do see, you guys do get a clearer view a lot of times of that kind of stuff on TV. So yeah, thank you, Whitney. I wasn't sure that I saw him, but we have not, we have now confirmed that. Our Word 16 says Solomon did play a few snaps yesterday. Yes, quite a few snaps yesterday. Yeah, Our Word, I don't know how I missed that. Like I said, I was looking. It's hard sometimes for me to see every single player. I was paying more attention to Michael Dwumfor, and I wrote about this today. Let me drop the link in here, guys. I think getting Michael Dwumfor back, and it's not like he was gone, for an extended period of time, but there were rumors floating around that he was going to be done for the season and all this other stuff, and it was severe Achilles. I mean, where they come from. I think now after this week, you gotta just know that nothing that comes out of his mouth is factual. And if it is, it's because he's reading, other people's stuff to get that information. So anyway, I think the return of Michael Dwumfor bodes very well for the defensive line, especially if you look at it like this. I mean, Rashawn Gary still questionable. We don't have an update on Rashawn, so I mean, Kwity Paye and Aiden Hutchinson can go in there and do a pretty good job. I don't think, but I feel like with Carlo Camp and then waiting for Aubrey Solomon to get back, and then Lawrence Marshall was banged up a little bit earlier in the year. I feel like the interior depth wise is a little bit more important to focus on. And with Michael Dwumfor in there, that really adds. I know it's just one guy, but I mean, if you look at all the injuries and then the depth in the interior, without Michael Dwumfor, what does it look like? Okay, and then if you look at it with Michael Dwumfor, it's a little bit more favorable. So I do think that the return of Dwumfor is big for Michigan's defensive line. It's got anytime you get guys back that are going to play key roles, that's going to increase your chances, and that's what this column's about. I think Dwumfor and Evans return. Harbaugh said last night that Chris Evans was not up to his top gear, but they're easing him back in. Chris Evans, though, he only had 18 rushing yards. 11 of them came on a drive late in the third quarter and then earlier into the fourth quarter, and that led to the Quinn Nordine 35-yard field goal to give him a 24-7 lead. So that was a really important drive, and Michigan had to finish drives. The only knock on Michigan was that drive, the Joe Milton thing. Like what? And nobody asked about it. I don't know if we're going to even bother going down that road tomorrow, but that just didn't look like optimal play calling. Let's put it that way. So other than that, I think that's really the only gripe. And then if you want to nitpick a little bit, okay, well, they didn't complete a ton of deep passes. But again, that was the one thing that Wisconsin secondary did decent, or Wisconsin's defense. Wisconsin as a whole, that was the one thing that it did decently, was not get torched by the deep ball. Instead, it got torched by Shea Patterson running 81 yards. So, and then what was Dylan's? Wasn't it like 30 something? 44, yeah. So, back to the chat, and I thought I had the focus issue fixed. I guess not. Alan Pinkney, is LSU really top 5 over Michigan? We'll find out. I think Michigan State is going to say a lot, because do you want to talk about Michigan being a top 5 team? Michigan's right there on the doorstep at 6. A win over Michigan State solidifies it. And then I think, depending on what happens to the teams ahead, I mean, a win over Michigan State could potentially vault Michigan, I think, as high as like number 3 in the country. Depending on what happens, I think Michigan could go as high as number 3 next week with a win at Michigan State. Right there on the doorstep of the top 5. Road win over the Spartans, and Michigan State's ranked now 24 after beating Penn State 21-17 in Happy Valley. Felton Davis with that game. Felton Davis and Ryan Schuling and I, like I said, we discussed this earlier, this past week, that Felton Davis was going to be crucial to this offense and crucial for any chance of Michigan State going to Penn State and winning. I did not see the Spartans getting out of there. Did not. Especially after the blown fake field goal try. I said, okay, well, that's done. I wasn't able to watch all of it because I was driving to Ann Arbor. I was able to catch a little bit. I think I got there right at halftime. I saw most of the second half. Spaniard Prince says Michigan threw 5 times in the second half. Shea doesn't have to pass this game. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying too. I don't think that the lack of the deep ball is it's not really an indictment on Michigan's passing offense. It's just you go with what's working. So I mean, yeah. PJ Brooks says Michigan's going to kill Penn State. R-Word16 says, what up, though, Biggs? I'm going through if I missed any. Parth Patel says, going to the game this Saturday. Got tickets in the student section. Hopefully I don't die. Well, Parth, if don't wear maize and blue, I guess. It's Michigan State student section could get a little rowdy. And the burning couches thing, man, I just cannot get on board with that. I think it's stupid, reckless. I mean, I get it. Kids want to have fun. I've done stupid stuff, with my friends. I'm sure everybody has. But I mean, burning couches and it's just such a low grade thing to be known for. You know what I mean? Like it's almost I don't know. If I'm Michigan State athletics, I'm kind of embarrassed by this, and I would plead to the fans, and I think they have actually in the past. Please do not burn couches and furniture. Cedar Village, I'm looking at you. That's the epicenter of the couch burning. So I think it's pretty stupid. But you got to believe if Michigan State beats Michigan, and that's why it's a noon game, guys. They're not going to have this thing at night, not in East Lansing, because they'll burn couches, end tables, chairs, mattresses, tear up the carpet in your house, burn that. Alan Pinckney says, am I still taking Michigan State over Michigan? Well, that was my pick in the beginning of the year, guys. And I mean, again, with it being at home, my concern is I'm going to ask Harbaugh about this tomorrow. Michigan State is known for those big plays. Michigan State, the trick plays, timely. I mean, that just something. Michigan State has lady luck in its favor sometimes in these big games. I'm not saying that's not a knock on Michigan State, but I mean, we could go back and look at these trick plays, and Michigan State does them well. So, and I'm wondering, Michigan doesn't. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think any team's thrown a trick play at Michigan since Jim Harbaugh's been there. I got to go back, look at the schedules, try to remember all these games. But that's something that Michigan doesn't face on a normal basis. So that's going to be something that I ask Harbaugh about tomorrow. But as of right now, I mean, right now, and like I said, I can change my preseason predictions based on injuries and things like that. But I mean, right now, even though that I said 8 of 11 for Michigan State, and with it being at home, Michigan looks like the better team. I don't think that there's any question about that. And Michigan State's pass defense, like the worst in the country. Its rush defense, the best in the country. So, I mean, if you want to see, is this a game where Shea can maybe exploit downfield? Well, the numbers say so. I talked with Mark D'Antonio about that last week on the Big Ten Conference call, and he said it was more of a case, guys, I mean, bad luck pretty much. Guys are there to make plays, and it just so happens the receivers are making them, but it's not so much of them being out of position, and the pass defense isn't totally reliant just on the 4 defensive backs either, he said. So, but yeah, I mean, right now, if snap judgment, Michigan looks like the better team, and I will be picking Michigan to win this game, barring any injury or anything like that. Let me see if I skipped your guys' questions or not. Matthew Aldridge, Tariq Black against Michigan State or Penn State. I don't know. Like I've been saying, I'd be surprised to see him back before November. So I don't know. But with the bye week, and then Penn State, it's, I mean, possible. Penn State, I would say the earliest. I mean, and I even said this when we were talking about a week and a half ago, when Harbaugh mentioned that Tariq was going to see his doctor. The best case scenario would be back from Michigan State. And that's like the absolute, holy crap, you healed quicker than normal and you are an example of like ideal recovery. Then okay, then maybe Michigan State. But I mean, that again, that's like a 1 in a million chance, right? Or I mean, I don't know the odds, but you know what I'm getting at. So that would be best case scenario. Iron Cross, yeah, I'll save my Jay Marion says I think Michigan will be ranked 8th or 9th next week. Well then what are you assuming, that they lose? Because they're number 6 right now. Isaac Gogol said Michigan State just beat Penn State. Yep. Nick Charles says, sorry, Alan, superiority wins this year unless luck wins again. This time we won't have to punt the ball at the end. Cameron Snyder says Penn State broke a few big runs on Michigan State. Isaac Gogol says until Harbaugh shows up against any of Michigan State, Penn State, or Ohio State, it'd be tough to say Michigan is a for sure winner in any of that. And Isaac, and that's a fair assessment too. I mean, the road aspect, the rivalry aspect. I mean, that's why I took Michigan. I mean, that's why I took Notre Dame over Michigan. Not because I thought that Notre Dame was just that much better of a team, but I mean, you do have to kind of think of this. You do have to take into the account the history. But at the same time, I mean, Michigan has been competitive in all those too. So, I mean, the narrative, they can't get it done. Well, maybe they're not getting the job done at the end, but it's like it's not that they don't show up. And I think there's a difference there. I mean, Michigan has shown up in these games. It's just, okay, it showed up in 2015, lost that game, but showed up. That was their game to win. 2016, went to East Lansing, showed up. So, I mean, and we'll go over, all the history of it. We'll talk about favorite memories. Who are your favorite players? I'm probably going to do live streams every single day this week because it is Michigan and Michigan State. So, um, Iron Cross says Harbaugh power run game. Nick Charles says Michigan has the better defense, although Sparty has a good rush D. Michigan has a quarterback this year, and I don't expect a -5 turnover ratio. Iron Cross says where's Ben Mason? Yeah, we didn't see Ben run the ball. He ran a couple routes, and then he was on special teams. That's probably something that I'll ask about tomorrow too. And wondering if there's still something. I'm wondering if there's still something going on with Jalen Mayfield because we did not see Jalen according to the participation chart. We didn't really see we didn't see any subs on the offensive line, actually. We're getting a glimpse. We've been seeing Ambry Thomas out right in these like sweep packages. So I mean, if we're going to see something from Michigan, we're going to see it this week against Michigan State. I could tell you that. And then we saw them, work with the Joe Milton thing. I don't know what the heck that was. Isaac Gogol said, I heard Zach Harrison was at the game yesterday. True. Yes, he was. And so was Giles Jackson and a couple other high. Again, guys, I'm not like a recruiting expert. I can't tell you where every single one of these guys are going. But I can tell you that the Michigan, when it offered Nolan Rucci, the younger brother of Hayden Rucci out of Warwick, Pennsylvania, or Lititz, Pennsylvania, or Lititz, I don't know how it's said, Lititz, Pennsylvania, out of Warwick High School. He's got an offer from Michigan and Michigan State, so I'll actually be reaching out because I'm wondering if this might be. He talked about how Michigan wanted to come out for a visit. I was wondering if maybe Michigan State would invite him out for this game. So I imagine there'll be some big visitors, especially if they're being recruited by both schools, possibly this weekend. So I'll update you guys on that if I do hear anything from the Rucci family in that regard. Jay Marion says, I haven't seen the ranking yet. My bad. Yeah, yep, they're number 6, Jay Marion. Matthew Alder says, barring injury, it looks like Karan Higdon will eclipse 1,000 yards. I think so too. Greg Ryan says, great indicator in the last for gauging Tariq Black is the social media. If he's posting, he won't play. If he goes dark, he's preparing to play. That's kind of fair, right? Because he's not bored. He's not sitting around and just. So yeah, I mean I can see that, Greg. That makes sense. Let me see. Iron Cross says Ohio loses at Purdue this Saturday night. Greg Ryan said, let's be honest, no one will give Michigan the benefit of the doubt unless we win out. Until then, folks will just say the next game is the true test. Well, I mean, I think a win at Michigan State should erase any doubt. And even if Michigan loses at Michigan State, I said 10-2 was a ceiling for this team. Wouldn't have been surprised. 9-3 seemed logical, but I mean, this offensive line has played better than expected. This offensive line was actually the MVP against Wisconsin. I don't think there's any debating that. Shea Patterson is as advertised. And these were the questions I had. 10-2 would be, okay, check the boxes with me. Shea is as good as everybody's hoping or saying that he will. Well, check. I think that's pretty safe to say. Offensive line improve. I was looking, offensive line just improves and steady. It's not a liability. Now the offensive line looks like it might be actually a strength. It's developing into a strength. So check that box. So, and then, a win over Michigan State, obviously. A win over Michigan State would be pretty much a lock, I think, in my eyes, for Michigan to have a 10-2 season. And possibly, nothing's impossible. But, I think 10-2 is the ceiling for these guys. And if they reach another gear, which I'm assuming at some point that they will, but maybe a couple more gears. They're Big Ten contender gear right now. Ohio State's national championship contender gear right now. Greg Ryan says, did you like the way Chase stopped in the tunnel to recruit? I didn't see it, Greg. I wasn't in the tunnel at that point. The only time I'm in there is post game. Chase screaming at them, run at me, and they were holding the hell out of Chase Winovich too, weren't they? I counted about 3 plays, two of them, Chase probably would have ended up with a sack. The third one was a hold, and would have been a tackle for loss on Jonathan Taylor. Those were just the three that stood out to me as blatant holding. And I think you guys saw the one. It was a false start, so Hornibrook didn't get nailed, and the Wisconsin right tackle basically like got Chase like a reverse suplex or whatever. Isaac Gogol knows probably what is this move? And you get somebody like kind of headlock, but you got him by the torso. That's basically how they had to defend Chase Winovich. Zach Harrison would be a huge surprise. Love to see it. Not sure it would be the bigger get, Harrison or Daxon. Well, Daxon's committed. Harrison is too, isn't he? Nick Charles says, Adam, I think Gary plays for Michigan this week, albeit in pain with the AC joint thing. Nick, I would think so too. If they're gonna hold him out until, because I mean they've been able to survive, and you gotta imagine Rashawn Gary wants to play in this game. And yeah, Harbaugh mentioned it again. We don't always get specifics, but he said shoulder, and he said AC. You don't always hear him say that because sometimes they'll ask, they won't even specify what Michael Dwumfor's was. If with Jalen Mayfield is going through something when I asked him about it. So, every now and then Harbaugh will get specific with it. And I think because a lot of it, we were talking about it earlier in the year. There was a rumor saying that he wasn't going to play against Notre Dame because he had a right shoulder injury. And, I was able to confirm otherwise. And you guys saw Rashawn play. So, and then there was another rumor he was going to play in another game, and all this other. Then the rumor about Michael Dwumfor and blah 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 blah. Nick Charles says, "What do I think? Yeah, I think I would, unless they tell us. Unless it's just gone the other way, and they say, hey, look. But I don't. I got to believe that he's getting better. So I would assume yes that he'd play against Michigan State. Gary's mommy wants to sit him out. And see, that's kind of a rumor that's been floating around. Greg Ryan says, dare I say, Michigan had the best O-line last night. Between Michigan and Wisconsin? Yeah. Or what do you mean? As a whole in college? Karan Higdon, you want to talk about a bold statement. Karan Higdon said he has the best offensive line in the country. They're maturing, they're getting better, and they're clearly one of the best in the Big Ten. But I don't know if I'm going to go out and say best in the country. Not yet. Most improved based on perception? Maybe. And Ben Bredesen was talking about a culture change a lot. And that wasn't a question, like a writer trying to come up with an angle, culture change. This was a term used by Ben Bredesen in response. He wasn't led into is there a culture change? Yes. And then, okay, well, Bredesen agreed. Bredesen stated specifically, there's a culture change among the offensive line. Isaac Gogol said 10-2 would be great, but people will be against Harbaugh until he gets a win against Ohio State. I think it might chill out a little bit, Isaac, if they beat Michigan State, though. NLips14, any thoughts on the way we started experimenting with Milton and what's up with those trick plays? Yeah, I talked about it a little bit earlier. The experiment obviously was not a success, but if you flip it around, Michigan State's, pretty good at the trick plays and capitalizing on them at just the right moment. I'm trying to remember back, like as far as Blair White, hook and ladder play. I'm trying to remember, I think that was against Wisconsin. Then there was a Hail Mary, Kirk Cousins to Keith Nickel against Wisconsin. That's not a trick play, but that's just the big play. Trick play, big play, get it, do or die moments. Michigan State's been pretty good at them. Little Giants against Notre Dame in 2010. There's Mousetrap against Northwestern, the fake punt. There's all kinds of stuff. But, we saw a botched fake field goal against Penn State. And I got to believe that Michigan State's got something rolled up its sleeve, and that's something I'll be asking Harbaugh about tomorrow. Michigan just does not face it, really. And then a lot of teams don't. It's okay. Every team does work on a trick play here and there, but it's not such a prominent piece of the offense with most teams as it is with Michigan State. If you think about Michigan State, offense. I mean, at some point or another, within the first couple minutes, the trick play conversation has to come up when you talk about Michigan State's offense, because that's been in a trademark for Mark D'Antonio. Joel Brown says, "What's up, Biggs? I'm late." Yeah, Joel, 30 minutes into it, but we'll be going every day. I thought the focus issue was fixed. We'll be going every day this week. At least, I mean, tomorrow, definitely Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, maybe Tuesday. But take either Tuesday or Thursday. We don't do one, but I mean, there's so much to talk about, and as long as we're getting a lot of participation and everything, and questions coming in, then I don't have a problem doing it. So. Whitney Jackson says Metellus has really stepped up this year. Yeah, Whitney. And this was a guy I would say get off his back. Michigan fans were just loving to ride the hell out of this kid, and I didn't see the reasoning. And he's a liability. The blah 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 is getting blown up in coverage. Blah 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 blah. And he's got 3 interceptions this year. Big momentum changers. One was a 67 or 60? I forgot. 63-yard pick six. Josh Metellus has been invaluable to this Michigan defense. And Harbaugh said last week that Metellus has been really valuable in terms of just communication and lining those guys up in the secondary. So, yeah, I think Josh Metellus, certainly, you got to probably, I would say most improved, but it's not like talent, like maybe most matured player. Because, I mean, he's had the athletic ability. It's not like so much that he just improved athletically. I think just most mature in terms of, playing the game kind of like within himself, whatever you want to call it. But I think Josh Metellus could definitely be tabbed as that at Michigan. Cosmic Voyager says, how many penalties does Michigan commit? 1. And it was unsportsmanlike after Brandon Watson's pick 6, I think it was. Let me look at this again. Or I mean, not Brandon Watson, but Lavert Hill. Sorry. Yeah, it wasn't until the fourth quarter. Lavert Hill, the 21-yard interception for touchdown. Then they got the excessive, unsportsmanlike kind of excessive celebration, whatever. But only 1 penalty. It was a 15-yarder. No penalties otherwise. Any other questions, guys? Comments? Matthew Aldridge says, revenge tour is quite possibly my favorite quote mantra. I've heard it from a player, need that mentality. Chase Winovich is pretty good at saying what's on his mind. Well, it looks like, who was that? Looks like, William Gentino. Thanks, William, $5 super chat. He says, I'm in a great mood. If everybody's in a great mood, like William, feel free to contribute to the super chat. Doesn't have to be a lot. Whatever, if you can, that's awesome. If you can't, don't worry about it. DAS says, what's up, Adam? Blue looked real last night. Yes, did not miss Gary at all. Well, I mean, there wasn't a huge drop off. I mean, I'm sure they missed Gary, but yeah, not a huge drop off. And yeah, absolutely, Michigan looked great last night. Offensive line looked great last night. I think the MVP said this earlier. The MVP of Michigan, Wisconsin was Michigan's offensive line. And Greg Ryan, yeah, his comment, best offensive line in the stadium last night, better than Wisconsin. Oh yeah, absolutely. Greg Ryan said Michigan had no respect for Wisconsin. I mean, I wouldn't say no respect, but are you talking about the unsportsmanlike penalty? Where are you going with this? Or are you just saying that kind of out of joke because they just kicked the crap out of them? I mean, Wisconsin was a good team, and Michigan was going into this game thinking that they can blow them out. Josh Metellus was talking about that. I mean, these guys, and here's the thing with the what was it? It was 10-point spread, and then the Nebraska 16-point. I was like, there's no way I can go with it. These are going to be closer games. Michigan has now proven me wrong about the ability to just go blow out a team. And I think that's a component that you look for in a real deal contender. Can these guys just go out and blow out a team? I mean, play good football and win games, that's one thing. Can you go out and blow somebody out? And they've done it twice this year. I feel 38-13. Wisconsin got a late touchdown, 38-13. And really, I mean, I'm going to go back to that botched drive. That was 3 to 7 points left on the field. I mean, you could argue there's probably another touchdown left on the field. I mean, this had the feel of that Nebraska game, didn't it? But only it was a much higher caliber opponent. And Nebraska actually had a good. And we started seeing these real tangible signs of the offensive line against Nebraska's defensive line. Nebraska's defensive line was not garbage by any means, talent wise. It's just they got some, you know, it's a mental hurdle over there right now for the Huskers. You know, that program's in a rebuild funk, and it's you hear the comments Scott Frost makes on these Big Ten teleconference calls, and it's just like this guy's really doing everything but calling out his team. He's like, we need better backups. I mean, that if you don't want to be, I think he said something along the lines, if you don't want to be here, you don't have to be, things like that, like tough talk, so I mean, but yeah, I think absolutely that Michigan blowing out Wisconsin. I had a brain fart there. Michigan blowing out Wisconsin looks really good for the Wolverines, and it's gotta make you be a little bit more of a believer, and it is with me. I mean, it's I'm just like you guys. I gotta watch the games too to see what I think. I mean, if I could predict everything that's gonna happen, then I'd go to Vegas and I'd be a rich man. But I try to get my best guesses. So far, I've been on in terms of win or loss. Been pretty close on scores other than Nebraska and Wisconsin. So, in terms of what I thought I was going to see out of Michigan this year, I'm not surprised. And again, I do think that Michigan, you got to talk about Michigan as the best one-loss team in the country. You just have to. Not just a suggestion like a couple weeks ago when I first brought it up. DAS, why trick play in the first series? Yeah, I don't know. That was go back to the Milton thing. Nick Charles says Wisconsin has lost like that twice in 5 years. This Michigan team might be special. Jay Marion says Michigan is finally playing with a chip on their shoulder this year. Demario Vaughn, what's up, man? So Wisconsin never gets blown. I know, that's what I'm saying. Like, you gotta, I'm just like that. Hey, if it's a close win, I still think Michigan's a real good team. But you go and you blow out a team that never gets blown out, the first place team, the Big Ten West. Wisconsin was looking pretty good, right? Number 15 in the nation. You blow that team out, if it doesn't change your perception of Michigan, then you're just being stubborn, I think. So yeah. And again, that's when it goes back to the conversation when I was saying about Michigan ceiling 10-2. Blow out Wisconsin like that, then yeah, 10-2 is definitely on the table. Definitely on the table. And Lips 14 says, I'm starting not to trust Quinn Nordin. He's had some struggles. I was talking about mental hurdles with Nebraska. I mean, I'm wondering what Nordin's having to hop over right now. Yeah, it just does not seem like the same kid as last year. Greg Ryan, no respect equals Metella saying we knew we could blow them out, and the fact that they put Milton in and tried trick plays while the game was competitive. Okay, well, I mean, I could see or just a high level of confidence. But yeah, maybe it is a little bit of no respect. I can see it from that perspective too. DAS says Quinn better not miss when it matters. It always matters, DAS, but I know what you mean. Field goals, one play can decide Michigan State. We've seen it happen. Dale Terry says, go blue, beat state. Demario Vaughn says, I agree, Greg. Joel Brown says, Quinn Nordin hopefully gets it together. We'll need his accuracy against Sparty. Yes, I agree. Her Star says, Michigan can definitely win out. Offense has several weapons. RPO is on point. And, of course, the best D-line in the nation. Greg Ryan says, last team to blow out Wisconsin was Bama. Isaac Ogle says, Nebraska is still trash. Whitney Jackson with the $2 super chat. Thank you, Whitney. I appreciate it. Guys, be like Whitney. Be like William. If your name starts with W, you are now required to tip. DAS says, I am a Canadian. Invest in marijuana. What can I get for $2? DAS says, Matt the Destroyer says, hey, Whitney. Isaac Gogol, maybe UCS should have joined the conference instead of Frost. They took the It's what I like that Isaac. Isaac and his UCF. I gotta admire the persistence and passion behind it. Isaac, really, really, really strong proponent of UCF joining the Big Ten, and he just loves UCF. And Isaac, tell us how you feel about the shoot. I forgot what I was gonna say. We were talking. Oh, the Skechers. We were talking. Isaac and I have had an interesting conversation on Twitter. There's one thing I do want to mention, guys. And with it being Michigan State week, the type of commentary, and you're going to start seeing, the fans. And then again, like I said, we're all fans in the media. If we weren't doing this, we weren't, passionate about it. If I didn't love college football and college sports, if we're not, be doing this. But it's unfair, I think, to the rivalry if you let your fan base get into it. Unfair just coverage in general, but it's unfair, especially during rivalry week. And I mean, it's some pretty harsh words being thrown around about Devin Bush. And I like Rico Beard. I've talked to Rico when I go out to Michigan State. He's been on my podcast before when it was Sports in the Mitten. I really like Rico, and he went off today on Devin Bush. He said Devin was a walking 15-yard penalty. He said that he wasn't going to make it until halftime. And he said that Devin Bush was the dirtiest player in college football. I think that's a little bit harsh. And I don't think Rico hides that he's a Michigan State fan. And I mean, I'm going to chalk that one up as crossing the line a little bit, letting your fandom get in. And in no way, I'm not calling him out or anything. Like I said, I'm friends with Rico. He's a really cool guy. But that to me, and that's what this rivalry does. I mean, this rivalry ignites people, but I mean, you gotta simmer down if you're in the media. You know what I mean? I would say out of everybody that covers Michigan and Michigan State, most of us are from the state of Michigan or went to the schools, and I would say there's a good portion. I don't know what percentage I would put on it, but I mean, there's a good portion of media who are fans of Michigan or Michigan State. It's just by virtue of growing up here. You know what I mean? Just like if you grow up here, you're a Tigers fan. You're a Pistons fan. You're a Wings fan because you grew up here. That's a local team. So, I mean, but where the difference is the ones who let it show, and especially during this week. I do think it's I think it kind of does a disservice to it. So you guys aren't going to get any rah-rah from me on that end or any derogatory. You guys know I'm not a Michigan fan, so I'm not going to go out of my way to diss Michigan just for the hell of it. Michigan's a really good team, and I think if you're a Michigan State fan, you need to realize what is on the line this weekend. It's another game where the season's on the line, and this is a very good Michigan team. This team reminds me a lot of the 2016 team, and this is it, right? I mean, this type of, and I'll go back to it. This rivalry is why Ryan and I started the site. This rivalry, along with Michigan versus Notre Dame, Michigan versus Ohio State, these rivalries are what made me fall in love with college football as a kid, and I think that's what makes all of you guys love college football as well. So during this week, respect the rivalry, respect both viewpoints. I don't imagine we're going to get a lot of Spartans in here. 99% of the viewers are Michigan fans, but let's keep the trash talk to a minimum. No going out of the way, being vulgar, and of course, no personal insults or worse. But it's an exciting time of the year, and I think, like I said, my perception of Michigan has changed. And in the beginning of the year, yes, I gave Michigan State the benefit of the doubt because of history, and maybe people are giving Michigan State the benefit of the doubt now because of the win over Penn State, but I think that Michigan is the better team, and I do expect the Wolverines to win Saturday. So any final questions, comments, advice on how I should invest the money from the Super Chat? Thank you, DAS. You got the Canadians just have really great. I gotta tip my cap to you guys. The Canadians just have and I don't want to be stereotypical here, but you're Canadian. Can you respect my junior hockey hoodie? This is from the Michigan Warriors back when I used to work for them on the side. They were an NAHL team here in Flint. I always thought their logo was kind of cool. And like I said, I'm stereotyping the hell out of you. You're Canadian. You like hockey automatically. You do, though. Don't lie. You like hockey. This DAS a hockey fan. He's Canadian. Is he a hockey fan? Thumbs up for yes. Thumbs up. Greg Ryan says, Lips has gotten dirt. Oh, what am I missing? Is that already getting, he says, I love hockey. Thank you. I was gonna feel so bad. And I'm assuming you're a guy too, so I'm sorry. I was gonna feel so bad if you're like, actually, I don't like hockey. That was such a jerk thing to say. Like, you're stereotyping me because of where I'm from. I mean, let's face it. I mean, if you're Canadian, hockey's part of it. Even if you're not a huge hockey fan, if you're Canadian, it's like you just like hockey. That's part. I mean, you go. I mean, it's like and correct me if I'm wrong. Junior hockey there is like college football in the United States. That's what I've been told by a lot of the people. And I've worked with a lot of people, a lot of Canadians, met a lot of players and stuff, and what they were, kids from like the QM Quebec, Montreal, QM JHL. You know what I'm talking about. Kids from OHL. That's what they told me. Growing up in Canada, junior hockey is like college football there. It's like how college football here. So anyway, Base 7769 said, "Hey, I had my wife watch it because I thought you would read my question." What was your question, Base? I'm sorry. I'll read it. Lips 14 says thinks the rivalries become more toxic. I agree. Corey Smith, any updates on Gary? No. DAS says best Leafs team in 50 years. Yeah, that's what I hear. With the former Red Wings coaching staff. Good luck, Toronto. I like Mike Babcock a lot. I like hockey. I'm a big hockey fan. Oh, she walked away, but tell her to come back. I'm sorry. I'll do better. Corey Smith, did David Long get hurt? Not that I know of. Parth Patel, Kendall Dunn? What do you mean? Robert Proxima says Michigan State is ranked. It's over. Just kidding. I think Michigan goes 11-1. OSU defense can't stop Indiana or Minnesota. That's going to be hard. I see Michigan winning them. Any final questions? Guys, we're going 48 minutes here. Any final questions, comments, concerns? Alex Hornibrook was held to 100 yards. It's like his third lowest total of his career. It's a season low. Michigan held him to 88 yards 2 years ago. This was a dominant performance all the way around for Michigan's defense. Let me read off some stats for you guys before we go. Check out some of these numbers here. Total yards for Michigan, 444. 124 through the air, 320 on the ground. That's a season high. One penalty for 15 yards, 21 first downs. And out of Shea Patterson's 14 completions, 5 of those were for first downs. I've mentioned that earlier. 7-16 on third down. Didn't face a fourth down. 69 total plays. That's 20 more than Wisconsin. 6.4 yards per play, which was very good. 5.8 by Wisconsin, which is all very good. Average yards per completion, 14.3 for Wisconsin, 8.9 for Michigan. Again, we talked about that. Michigan, Wisconsin secondary was able to, I guess, deter Michigan. I mean, there were some good passes defended as well. So that's the one thing Wisconsin did well. Michigan 4 out of 5 in the red zone. 37 minutes to 23-minute possession. 37:01 to 22:59. So right there, dominating the clock. No turnovers. We talked about that. Ryan and I did earlier in the week. Turnovers are always important, but they were going to be very important in this game, especially if it was going to be close like I thought. So, Michigan gave up 2 sacks, Wisconsin 3 sacks. We'll go over Michigan's stat leaders. Karan Higdon, 19 carries for 105 and a touchdown. Shea, 9 carries for 90 yards and a touchdown. He's 14 of 21 for 124 through the air. No touchdowns or picks. True Wilson got Dylan McCaffrey with a 44-yard touchdown. That was another one that was like, hey, this game's over, guys. Watch this. So any final questions, comments, concerns? We'll reconvene tomorrow, probably around 4 or 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern time after I return from Michigan's Jim Harbaugh's Monday press conference, going full-on Michigan State mode. We're not even going to talk about Wisconsin at all, unless it somehow relates to Michigan State and Michigan. But today is the final day. Tomorrow for sure will be the final day that we address anything to do with Wisconsin. Then we're going to spend the entire week talking Michigan and Michigan State. Ryan and I will have some podcasts, so be sure to tune in for that. And we will both be in East Lansing covering the game. And it's going to be, again, like I said, this is what it's all about for us at Great Lakes Divide. So find us online at greatlakesdivide.squarespace.com. That's the mobile version. greatlakesdivide.com, that best viewed on desktop. Follow on Twitter at GL Divide, on Facebook, the Great Lakes Divide, and or it's Great Lakes Divide without the sorry. And follow me on Twitter at AdamBiggers81. And again, I want to give a shout out to our title sponsor, FederalWilliams.com, FEDERAU Williams.com, for all of your real estate needs, whether you're buying or selling in the state of Michigan. Contact Mike Williams at FederalWilliams.com. They hold the key. Also want to thank Mr. Spots for sponsoring the Friday score predictions. It's going to be on fire this Friday. This one's going to be a big Friday, so be sure to tune in for that. And again, read all my stuff. I just dropped the link for key returns. I think Dwan Ford not missing any time. I mean, he was carted off the field last week. You know, the injury looked bad. Not as bad as it looked. Harbaugh said earlier this week. Drop that in there. So if there's anything, Base 7769 says, Mimi is watching. Can she get a shout out? She's a Michigan State fan. Absolutely, she could get a shout out. Who are you picking, Mimi? Michigan State or Michigan? What are you thinking? How do you feel about that Penn State win? Does that give you a little more confidence? I mean, I know people, Brian Lewerke, Felton Davis, that's a lethal combination if it's going to work. So I think this is going to be a game status for Lewerke and Felton Davis, game of your life status. PJ Brooks says Michigan 28, Michigan 12. You heard it here first. Michigan to Michigan. Adam Malney said, just joined. What did I miss? Oh, not much, Adam. Just the whole show. I just signed off. We're going out 53 minutes. I'll have another one tomorrow. We're going to be going all week. We talk about everything from Wisconsin. So feel free to watch the replay. Crazy atmosphere last night. Absolutely. I mean, the Big House night game. That place was rocking. It's cool to just be a part of it. And the food there, I got to tell you, the grilled chicken, pulled pork sandwich, the salad, rice. They even gave us little cookies that were Block M sugar cookies, delicious. Drank a ton of coffee. It was a good night, and I got to watch a football game as well. So I cannot complain about that at all, guys. Robert Potsman's final concern, so concerned we didn't have a passing touchdown. It seemed like wide receivers couldn't get open. But again, Wisconsin's secondary, Wisconsin was able to do one thing right. So, I don't think it's an indictment. She says Michigan State wins, but the house will be divided. Hey, if you guys, if anybody else has a house divided, let me know. Tweet me photos at AdamBiggers81. It's always fun. And again, guys, respect the rivalry. Let's keep it clean. No personal insults. My band finger will be quick and heavy this week for anything that goes over the line. Thankfully, we haven't had that this year. Last year, we had a little bit of a problem, but there's enough regulars in here. All you guys, everybody plays well together, so that's always a good thing. So, Base 7769 says, I'll send you some. Yeah, definitely do that. Send me all your... If you collect memorabilia, Michigan State stuff, send it to me. I do have... You guys always say that I don't have anything Michigan. But look, I do. I had the Big Ten helmet set before Nebraska and Rutgers joined and decided to make me have to go buy a new one, which I haven't. This is the one Michigan piece of gear in my house. The state helmet obviously also came with the Big Ten helmet. So this is what we got this weekend, guys. This is what it's all about. Michigan and Michigan State. So, hey, I appreciate everybody watching. Had a great time today. Again, follow me on Twitter at AdamBiggers81. Great Lakes Divide at GL Divide. GreatLakesDivide.squarespace.com on mobile. GreatLakesDivide.com on your PC. And we'll get it going this week. So again, Michigan 38-13 over Wisconsin. Statement win, blowing out a team that does not get blown out, holding Alex Hornibrook to nothing, holding Jonathan Taylor to just some stat yards. Not a big deal. Jonathan Taylor did not put a dent in Michigan whatsoever. He was going to get his. One way or another, he was going to get his, but he didn't. He got a little bit of his. He didn't get all of it, the 140 yards. So I appreciate you guys watching. Joel Brown says, mad respect to you, Biggers, Michigan gear. Yeah, Joel, I told you. I do have one in here. William says, Biggers, Closet Wolverine. Mrs. Brown and I have decided the stakes this weekend for our house divided. Interesting. We gotta hear about those. PJ Brooks says state's getting destroyed. All right, guys, we're going on 56 minutes. I have a couple things I want to do around the house on this Sunday, so we'll be back tomorrow for a live stream after Harbaugh's press conference and after we talk to some players. So until then, get all the interviews and everything. If you missed those, they're on my YouTube channel. Got Shave Patterson last night, Cron Higdon and Ben Bredesen, Harbaugh, and Josh Metellus. I missed, I think Lavert Hill. Lavert was available, but I missed him. So got almost everybody. It's hard to get to everybody. It's a madhouse in there, in that room after a game. It is crazy. And the one I'll leave you on this note. They were going to 50 people surround Shea Patterson with phones and cameras, and someone came up with the idea that said, set him at the table. So whoever said that, thank you. That saved the day. And but they gotta turn the mic levels up on Shea Patterson, man. That dude does not speak very loudly during the post-game press conference. Maybe it's because his throat's tired from yelling on the field. Whatever he's doing, he's leading Michigan's offense. So, hey, guys, thanks again. I appreciate you watching. Have a good rest of your Sunday. I'll talk to you tomorrow.